I just think a great leader is a person that they love and care about everything that they have going on. They love and care their job. They love and care the people that they get to work with and that they get to work on. Our
Yeah.
student athletes or your faculty members.
Welcome to the Jamodi Podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is Jamodi, just a matter of doing it.
Today we are joined by the head boys basketball coach at San Angelo Central High School, CJ Villegas. Coach Villegas is in his 15th year as a head coach and has 206 career wins. At San Angelo Central, he's led the Bobcats for the first time in school history to qualify for playoffs 3 years in a row. They've also had back-to-back 20-win seasons. In 2012, Coach Villegas was named the 1A District and All-South Plains Coach of the Year. He's also the current president of TABC, Texas Association of Basketball Coaches. Before we hear from Coach, take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on social media at Jamodi Podcast.
What's going on, Coach?
What's up, man?
Man, doing okay, doing all right. I'm gonna go ahead and apologize for the voice, but we're getting a little closer, right?
That's right. Yeah.
But no, it's going, man. It's going.
I was gonna say, it sounds like you've been coaching them hard the last couple of days.
I don't know about that. I've definitely been yelling.
Yeah. Well, man, tell me what's new with you right now.
We're obviously in our we call it preseason. Some people call it off season, but I think off season is after your season.
Yeah.
So we call it kind of our preseason time right now. Just gearing up. Just working the guys out. Within our rules of the athletic period and implementing the strength and conditioning stuff before school. And then we have first period athletics, and so
Nice.
we just kind of roll in our strength and conditioning and weights into first period and then get on the court. So we try to get on the court every day to implement. So
do you guys run your own strength and conditioning? Do you have a group come in and do it? Like performance course is really big in Dallas-Fort Worth area.
It's all on us. So that's why I said my assistant, my varsity assistant, Rocky Feliciano, is I always joke with him, but he's a Cliff Carroll
Nice.
kind of disciple, and I played for him at Alpine and at Sol Ross, and so he's a real big I call him a strength and conditioning guru. So he's explaining stuff to me and doing all this. So I'm super excited that we have him here. And he takes that on. He takes that role on. So we do it all of ourselves, though. We do the weight room ourselves. We do our speed and agility and conditioning stuff. We do that ourselves as well. So it's kind of we obviously are a 6A school and could possibly we don't have a strength and condition coach. And so and I think even if we did, it would be tough to kind of split to all the sports.
Yeah.
So it just works out. It works out for our situation right now. So, and we don't mind. YouTube's a great
right.
tool and resource, and Twitter and things like that. And so it's we can figure out something to get done. So.
That's a great reminder for assistant coaches that are going for jobs. I think nowadays, obviously basketball IQ and knowledge, like that's good and experience, but what else can you bring to the table? And like my mind is, do you have a strength coach? Do you have that background? I think that could be really valuable for a program. And then another thing is social media. Like, do you have any skills that you're already bringing to the table? So that might be something outside of just X's and O's and knowledge that coaches could bring to maybe even an interview situation, right?
Absolutely. I think, and obviously in the areas that it's not that I don't feel comfortable with it. It's just some of my, I guess, part of my mindset is a little more old school, and so maybe my techniques and my, the what am I looking for? Kind of the philosophy of the weight
Yep.
room and things like that is everything has just changed. Since we first started coaching and stuff. So
Yep.
yeah, I think that's great. I think that's great, and that's something that I was really looking forward to. And the technology side of things too, like you said, social media. But man, if you had a guy that was really really experienced with huddle or was good with game planning and scouting reports or something like that, that right there could give you an edge.
That's right. That's
That,
right.
that could give you the nods.
First of all, I want to thank you for giving up your time. This is an honor for me. One, I feel like I've kind of been a fan of yours from far away because we've been in the same room before, from time to time with TABC, but haven't had a ton of interaction between the two of us. And then still TABC president right now.
Yes, sir. Yes,
I
sir.
mean, so yeah, I'm talking to not royalty. That's not the name, but yeah, I mean,
not at all.
but no, that's a huge to me. I mean, as a big TABC fan, even though I'm at the private school level, I'm still in my head a public school guy, and I believe in TABC and the mission and what you guys are doing for Texas high school basketball. And so for you to be in that position, it's a big deal to me. So again, thank you so much for your time.
Well, I appreciate it. I did retweet a few of the stuff that you had, and then I went to the website and saw some of the speakers that you were able to bring on, and it's truly an honor to be sitting here, and I appreciate you just even reaching out, and I mean, anytime we can, any chance I get to give back to the profession that means so much to me, and give back to our coaches in the state of Texas, or whoever's listening at the moment. As always, I'm always willing to do that, and I want anyone that is listening to know that you're probably not going to get one thing out of this deal, because obviously everything that I've gotten has been stolen, and so I'm truly humbled in that aspect too, to know that nothing that I'm going to share has been I developed on my own.
Yeah.
I'm going to always give credit to the guys, my peers and mentors that have helped shape me and mold me. So I want to thank them too. So.
I appreciate you saying that and showing off the humility. I've found talking with whether it's a high school coach, a college coach, or a strength and conditioning guy, somebody that's been retired for a long time. There's just something that every one of us can teach. Something we can get. And so I appreciate you saying that, but I know with your experience, and then also too, when I get to talk with you, I'm getting to talk to all the people that have influenced you as well. And so within there, coach, we'll definitely find something for sure.
I hope so. I hope so.
All right. You're able to see so many great leaders, be around them, especially with TABC. I mean, at those clinics alone, just the people that you have in the room with you and those meetings that you have, what's one quality you see in great leaders?
Obviously, ever since I received the email on those questions, I kind of just thought about it, and obviously there's 1,000 things that we could say, right? Because that's what makes those people great leaders. But I think the one thing that I just kept referring to, and kind of the first thing that stuck to my mind, is the thing that I find in a great leader is the love and care that they have. I just think a great leader is a person that they love and care about everything that they have going on with them or about them. They love and care their job. They love and care the people that they're around every single day. They love and care the people that they get to work with and that they get to work on. Our student athletes, or even like for my situation, your faculty members, your janitors, your trainer, I just think they just love and care for people, and I think that's a huge attribute that, like I said, I mean, we could sit here and talk, for 30 minutes about 1,000 different things.
Sure.
But the thing that I just kept kind of replaying in my mind when I thought about these people that, my old high school coach or my old college coach, I just felt like it just all went back to just loving and caring. So
That's a good point. And I think so many of us, hopefully, whether it was high school or college, or even guys that maybe we worked for early on, we saw that example. I think there's a lot of players and coaches out there, though, that can also think of the wrong example of that, which is somebody that's disconnected, somebody that might have a lot of head knowledge, know the game, X's and O's, but doesn't necessarily connect with their players, show that level of care, that deep care. What are your thoughts on a coach that has all the knowledge, but players don't believe that they truly care about them?
oh man, that's tough. You have that saying like I do it too right now. I do it too where we have all these great ideas because of the kids that we have. These great ideas, and I try them out right now in the preseason. But at the same time, somehow or some way, those kids make a connection of like, I don't know if he really feels that
Mm,
way.
yeah.
And to me, that's what makes it tough. Is that's if they don't, if you're not, the X's and O's part, and I guess what I try to do is I try to tell my guys, and I think this is really the truth is if you were to come and watch us, practice or play, like, I'm not sure you're actually going to steal something on the X's and O's side of it. I just don't. I joke with my guys all the time, like I'm not that smart. I'm not that. That's not what I enjoy doing. I don't enjoy, sitting down and designing stuff and doing this, putting this person in this spot. And I just that's just not my style.
Mhm.
Uh, but I think some of those guys that are like that, I think it's hard to like you said to make that connection. And I think that's important. I feel like the players nowadays. That's what they care about. That's what they look forward to. So
Yeah, I think if they struggle to make that connection, if players don't truly believe that we care about them, uh, you can get away with it for a certain amount of time. But then let's just say hypothetically in your season, bad things happen. Injuries, losses, the success that everybody thought was going to be there isn't there. It's not turning out that way. You better have the relationships to fall back on, or else I think that's when a team or a culture, an environment can really go south.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think I could tell from you, like the self awareness that you have in who you are as a coach. I think TJ Rosine with PGC said that self awareness is a superpower. Like the fact that you recognize in yourself that I'm not going to out X and O somebody, but I would imagine you have unique ways of getting your players to completely buy in and to play incredibly hard.
Yeah, and I mean that's it's e- even at this level. I mean, it's kind of the same thing. We have really great coaches that we get to compete against night in and night out, and there are some that are gonna X's and O's us to death on top of a great culture and a great program and a great team. That's when you know you're really in trouble when you get there. But you know, when you got to play those teams, like man, guys, I'm sorry, our X's and O's is not going to work on this one. But hopefully we can make it up in other areas. But yeah, I mean, it's a tough deal.
Like you just nailed something though. I mean, maybe the teams that we're watching play later on in February and March are the ones that have the culture, have the X's and O's, both performing at a high level. In your opinion, when you're kind of starting off the season, which two of those layers are you focusing on a little bit more? Is there one over the other, culture versus X's and O's, or are you trying to move them up both at the same time?
I'm trying to. I'll start off mainly with the culture side of things, and then obviously as when the competition, kind of changes over to the district level.
Yeah.
We're competing at the district level. You got to have some type of X's and O's, especially with the guys that we play in our league, in our conference, or in our district to stay in the game. You have to. It's they're just too good, for
Yeah.
you not to have that. So, but I definitely want to stress and preach, our style of play and what we want accomplished offensively and defensively, and we can kind of we can talk about that, but it just I want to definitely establish that first because I always do this too. The regular season, every game leading up into the before our district ball game, I am 110% focused on us, our team, not necessarily anybody else. And I know and it sounds crazy, but we have some really good teams on our schedule, and I really need to be focused on them. But at the same time, they're going to have the players, and they're going to have kids. Every game we go into, there's going to be kids. There's going to be really good players. There's going to be really good coaches. And so I just stress and focus on trying to for us to improve. And then when the district competition and stuff rolls around, there's a lot more, obviously detail involved with scouting reports, and there's player personnel stuff on what we want to get accomplished, because hopefully by that time we got to have a good grasp of our team and what we feel like is going to help us. So,
Coach, I like that. I like the idea of acknowledging, even with your players, that there's a difference between what we're doing all the way up until district play, and then when that moment hits. I'm a huge fan of focusing on us, how we do things, how we're going to show up, way more than worrying about our opponent. And like you said, I think especially in that preseason or pre-district, how many coaches just get so deep into breaking down pre-game or post-game in the pre-district, when we really need to. I mean, how many of those in-depth scouting reports do you have in you before your players start to go, oh, another packet?
Absolutely.
Oh, I've heard this before. Even the good ones that are going to yes sir, yes or no sir. I think there's only so many of those. So waiting till district to maybe have those in-depth scouting reports, and then before that, focusing on your culture, the way you do things offensively and defensively. That just makes a lot of sense to me, man.
But we kind of just took that approach. I've just taken that approach of it, since I've been coaching. I think it's just, especially, I mean, one of the questions I think was about the social media deal, which we'll obviously advance to that.
Yeah.
But I think everything now, this is my 16th year in coaching, and everything has obviously changed, has evolved. And you as a coach, you have to do the same. And so, these kids right now at school, in their classrooms, they're hardly doing pencil to paper stuff in the classroom. They're hardly doing writing down things and reading packets and So the best way for us right now to get information to those guys is a text message, through the phone, right? And so that's a whole lot of the reason too why I do it, because like you said, I think it's if they're seeing it and they're seeing it, and all you're doing is just flooding them with that information. What are we actually going to get anything accomplished? And we want to get something accomplished. So
that's a good point too, of evolving with the times. I don't know about you, but the 4-page scouting report that I used to get in high school or college, if I'm being honest, I didn't really read through all that.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I skimmed it and I listened, and there's, that was last year. One of my assistant coaches brought me because he knows I take a Peeler, a Coach Peeler approach to scouting. I don't really go to many games. I'll get a little bit of film on them, but kind of like you said, it's way more about us. And even in district play, and maybe sometimes that's with your style of play and the simplicity that you have. But he handed me because he knows I don't do much of those things. He handed me this like 6 or 7 page packet that the football coach did. And I'm looking through it, and I think I had a smirk on my face because it's just like, man, it's great. It's a lot of work. I'm trying to think of like, what else could I do like with my time and for my players with that? And that's not a knock on anybody that's going to spend a lot of time on a scouting report. But like you said, is there a way that we can make it digital, that we can simplify it so that it's really like keep the main thing with our players and our coaching?
Even when we get to district, coach, our scout report in district, I try to do one page. It's a front and a back.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. It's just one page. It's a front and a back, and then all of our information that we want on there for our guys to know is on there. But I kind of went to that over the last couple of years too, is because I don't think flooding them with information is beneficial.
Coaches, the Jamodi podcast is powered by Ballology. What's your BSA score? The Ballology Skills Assessment is the only verified skills metric endorsed by the NAIA, NJCAA, and a growing number of NCAA coaches to discover and develop the best talent for your team. This 4-minute, 40-shot test can be taken free today on the Ballology mobile app. Elevate your game. I think that kind of leads us into the next question, which is favorite style of play to teach. The reason it made me think of that is, when I was at McKinney High School with Wes Watson for 5 years, my second year there, golly, me and him, we scouted hard. If Daryl Kraft from McKinney North is listening to this, then we were trying to be like him, because Daryl Kraft has the ability to multiply himself and to be at every game every night. It's incredible. But we were trying to do that, and we had these in-depth things, and man, we worked really, really hard, and we were 8-21, and our guys were competitive. But again, it was kind of that thought of, does this, what we're doing here, match with the style of play that we want? So Coach, at the school where you're at, which you've been there, is this your going into your third season there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. What's your favorite style of play to teach?
Pressure man-to-man defense is kind of what I would hope that, after you watch us play, that's something that we want to try to get accomplished. But that's my favorite style. I love the defensive side of the ball. I love the effort that it takes for you to have to play it like that. And what we try to explain to our guys is like we know, that's what we've been trying to get done right now is we know that it's super tough because what we're asking you to do, because it's a ton of scrambling, it's a ton of talking, it's a ton of rotating. But I like it because I just think it's a way for your kids to play hard.
Yeah.
And not that they can't play hard in anything else. I think it's all
but it's necessary. It's necessary that they do.
If you want to be effective,
yeah,
and you want to be able to defend and keep teams from scoring, that's the only way to get it done. So we obviously, every situation I've ever been in, that's the number one thing that we're teaching is we're starting off with defense. And for some of our guys, we may not do an offensive concept for a few weeks, just to work on the defensive side and establish that as a part of our culture and our program. So definitely pressure man-to-man. If we have the guys to get it done, I would love to obviously go full court. And I try to tell our guys too, you're going to be in some type of full court, whether it's man-to-man, run and jump, or a zone press. So just something to just get up and down the floor and hopefully to make teams play fast. And so that's what I would love to do. If it was a perfect world, that's what I would sit in. That's what I would love to coach. So
the school that you came to, because you were at Friendship before that?
Yes, sir. I was a varsity assistant for Paul Page.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Did you have similar types of players at your school? Because I'm always interested, someone like you that likes that full court pressure, man-to-man or any kind, can you do that regardless of the horses that you have? Or how does it work for you?
So that's a great question. And one thing that I've always relied on when being asked something like that is stole a lot. I was in Hereford for 6 years, which is southwest of Amarillo, Texas. And man, we ran through a gauntlet up there with Jason Pillion at Amarillo High, Jeff Evans at Amarillo Palo Duro. So two guys that definitely know how to coach defense and effort. But anyways, I stole a lot from those two guys, and I always wondered about that too. But you look at, Jeff Evans at Palo Duro, and this is not necessarily a knock or anything on his groups, but
Sure.
all of his groups have not been the same as far as personnel.
Hmm.
And I can guarantee you right now, I haven't seen them play in 3 years, but I can guarantee you right now, he's still doing the same thing. He's still full court man, run and jump, and his kids have changed. But when I visited with him, that was my question. My exact question with him was, if I don't have the athletes, how
Yeah.
do you feel? If there's another team that's more athletic than you, how do you feel? And he goes, CJ, he said, I love it better. He said, I just do. I like it better because he said it gets them out of their style. Now, obviously, we've got to tweak some things like, the way that you've got to load up to the basketball, right? And
Yeah.
make that important. You've got to early help, because guys are getting beat. So now you've got to early help to stop the basketball. And then, obviously at the end, if they're more athletic than you've got to box out and you've got to rebound. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, but that was one thing that he said. And I never really thought about it that way because I've known a lot of guys that have said we want to be full court man and we're going to be run and jump. And to be honest with you, I have not totally committed to that just because of personnel reasons.
Yeah.
But it can get done, and I truly feel that way. I think. Oops, sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah,
Sorry.
you're good. Yeah.
But I think it can be done just if you tweak a few of your techniques and stuff. So, but then obviously if you're more than athletic than the other team, it's really good for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just gets you to play at a different pace than and you say that now, but now it's almost like everyone wants to play fast. And so
we used to be unique. And now everybody's doing that. So I'm wondering, Coach, if in the next few years you see teams being way more deliberate in walking the ball up the floor, controlling tempo, especially until we get a shot clock, doing things to slow down, because you watch every press conference at a college. It's, we're gonna have a great culture. We're gonna play really fast. Those are the two things. I think nobody gets up there and says, our culture is going to be average and I want to play really slow and methodical. Nobody says that, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think that's a good reminder to coaches. It doesn't necessarily, you don't have to completely change what you love to do, the scheme that you're comfortable with, depending on your personnel, because I do think that is I would love to do this if I had these players. Okay, well, take the players that you have as far as you can with what you want to do, but then tweak it a little bit to meet them the rest of the way. And I think you could do that with almost anything you're talking about, right?
Absolutely. If you were a zone team and you have the dudes, then you're going to extend that thing. And,
yeah.
You're going to get out there and you're going to pressure up on folks and make it really difficult for them. So I think it's just a matter of what you want to tweak. You're going to have to tweak something though. I feel like so.
See, I think that's the kind of coach I want to be when I grow up. When I want to be the coach. I want to be the coach. I'm telling you, I want to be the coach that can adjust and tweak things better. Right now, I'm more of this is who we are, and gosh darn it, it's either going to work or it's not. And there is something to that, I believe, like to have that resolve of we're just going to keep plugging, fellas. We're on our way. But I've wondered at times, should I make more adjustments? Are there tweaks that could be made? And I'm maybe just too stubborn or not smart enough to make them.
Yeah, and you just, I think you just play with it. Obviously you can't toss out there 5 different things for them to to try to fix, But if you say, like now you want to change the positioning of gap to look like this, which may be more of a deny type deal, but
Yeah.
whatever that may be, I think you can get it done. I really do.
Offensively, what do you like to do?
Oh man, so that right there is the toughest question because I know I've stated that I'm not
You're a
very good with
defensive guy. I get it,
I'm not
coach.
very good with X's and O's. We have tried everything.
Yeah.
I feel like I've tried everything. High low, Bill Self, high low motion offense. We ran obviously dribble drive. Uh, right now, I like to say it's kind of playing in space,
Yeah.
and so we're really trying to figure that part out. We're right now, and like you said, we've been obviously been stressing the defensive side of the floor, and so we just right now I just really love just we really give them about 4 or 5 things every day offensively, just let us play, and so it's value in the basketball, stay spaced, share the basketball, and make open shots. So I mean that's pretty much what we got right now offensively. So
Yeah.
and like I said, we played with a bunch of things. I'm if I was a perfect world guy, I would be some type of motion offense. If I was a perfect world and I felt like I could do it everywhere that I went, that would kind of probably be my style, I guess. So we're still tweaking that part, though. We're still tweaking that. So
I love the direction you're going with the playing in space. I think it's the most fun. I think it helps to develop players the most, and I also think it's hard to guard. I think sets, especially sets that take away space, are easier to guard, but you get guys in double and triple gaps. Guarding the ball is hard. And then you make one defender have to choose between helping over on the ball or leaving a shooter. And that moment right there, I like putting my players offensively in positions where you have two choices and either one of them are really good. That's a fun position to be in. When you're in a position where you only have one choice here, well, what if it doesn't work out? Like what do we do then? I want to try to set them up with as many opportunities to be successful as possible. And that word space, creating that for your players. And then I would imagine because of the defensive philosophy you have in wanting them to take chances, wanting them to be aggressive, I would imagine you have that same culture on the offensive end with, hey, be aggressive. You see that double gap, get after it.
Attack mode.
Yeah.
Attack mode. And what we really try to stress is you said it best is trying to defend as hard as we possibly can. And what we try to tell our guys is simplify the game,
Yeah.
where we play as hard as we possibly can on the defensive side and we get stops. And then you just try to beat them down the floor and go get a layup and then come back and do it again. So obviously just trying to get out in transition too and advancing the basketball is a big for us. But yeah, really staying within that mindset of attack mode on both sides of the floor.
How much time do you spend on that in practice? And my reason for asking that question is you're right. I mean, in my mind, if you're playing the way I think we want to play, defensively, offensively, we're going to be playing out in transition quite a bit. And so it can be that simple. The majority of our possessions are not going to be walking the ball up the floor or defending the ball being walked up the floor.
Absolutely.
So, but my question is, how much do you work on playing within that chaos? Because I think sometimes, even though coaches say they want to do that, I've thought that I say I want to play that way, but then I'm working more on baseline out of bounds, end of game situation. Or what if we played this type of defense? Well, crap, 80% of the game, we're in transition. What are we doing?
So now that you said that, I tell you, to be honest with you too, I learned a lot. I learned a lot from Paul Page over at Friendship. And so when I was with him, we did a ton of transition drills too. And so I think, and so what's funny is you said something about you spending time on situations and blobs, and I'll be the first one to say, if as a coach, my weakness is that, and so I feel like that's my weakness, because you look at our play sheet, and our play sheet is not very long, right? And so, but I think that's a good point that you made about you being more up on the blobs and special situations, and us on the other hand don't spend a whole lot of time on that. And so when you talk about the practice planning of things, I would probably say 45 minutes, 30 minutes to an hour. Let's probably say for sure 30 minutes where it's at least two drills or three drills that are just transition.
Hmm.
And so that organized chaos that you're
Yeah.
that you're more, kind of more known, that's more known is that organized chaos. That's probably more of our practice, where because we want to spend a lot of time in transition,
Yep.
and because this is the way that we would like to play. So learned a lot from Paul Page. Like I said, we did we it wasn't a whole lot of half court stuff when I was with Paul Page. And I mean, obviously we took time to and I stole a lot from him. Like I said, we do, like right now, like we have our JV and our varsity, and I'm probably talking off topic.
No, you're good, man. Keep going.
But I just we're kind of explaining it. But if we have like our JV and our varsity, with my varsity assistant, like I kind of made him the defensive coordinator per se, and so he'll be on one end with the JV, and they're doing the defensive part that he wants to get accomplished after we do all of our pre-workout, pre-practice individual stuff, whatever. He does that with them, and then I'll probably, since I'm the offensive coordinator, I'll be doing our offensive stuff. 5-on-0 or 5-on-5 or shooting, team shooting or something like that,
Yeah.
and then we'll switch. And then obviously outside of that, those half court deals, it's if we're not shooting the ball, it's a full court drill of some sort. So
yeah, and Coach, I think I am aligned with you in that. My thought is as a coach, really look at not just the style of play that you want, but what's actually happening in games when you play. Look over that, and because I think so many times we focus on the small parts, like how many times do we actually spend in those baseline out of bounds, sideline out of bounds? I'm not saying they're not important, but in games, that's a very small part of the 32 minutes. Majority of it is where we want to live. And so look at your practice plan and make sure that you're working on I tell guys in skill work all the time, like we want to be really good at the things that happen a ton. Yeah. I don't really want to work on, personally, I don't want to work on the Euro. The Euro doesn't happen a lot. But you know what does happen a lot? Stride stop finishes. Yeah. Finishing off a two in the paint, off a stride stop, and then being creative out of that. So, fellas, that's what we're going to work on a ton, because that's going to lead, and our offense leads to that. So I think it's more of a challenge for myself and for any coach listening to look at the way that you actually play in games, look at your practice schedule, and make sure that what you're seeing here is actually what you're working on a majority of the time here.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I like that too.
So you mentioned a little bit about the way you split up practices. How does individual skill development work into your daily practice?
I kind of thought about that, but it's obviously I don't think it's any different than what anyone does. But I wasn't really for sure on how to answer this, but it really just the build up into where, like, let's say we're going 1-on-0, and so guys are doing whatever move we have we got a cross jab, or we got the sticking it and finishing, the different finishes and stuff that we have, and then advancing that to 1v1 basically.
Yeah.
Advancing it to 2v2, and just trying to get like maybe just one aspect accomplished with each one of those set up. Like, for instance, like a 3v3 deal, offensively on the skill development side of things, it may be that you have to catch the ball outside of the 3-point line, no matter what. And when you drive the basketball, you can't make the pass until you touch the paint.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So just I think incorporating it into that aspect, but we just kind of build it up to the 5-on-5, and then it just comes into to me. I just feel like it just comes into play.
Yeah.
But we have like a layup drill that we do that we get the basketball and we rip it down the baseline and we work on different finishes there. And when we get into our offense or we get out in transition, those are the things that we see the most of, and that's what we really like, I guess, or that's what I really like. And so you just kind of see it, just every once in a while, it just shows up, some of the things that you've been working on. So, like I said, I'm not sure if I actually answered that question correctly, but
Well, yeah.
I feel like just building up into it, and I mean, I do feel like, I will say this. I do feel like, obviously the skill development and the individual stuff is very, very, very important. But I think at the end of the day, like a kid that is just doing that, the kid that's just doing that with nobody guarding them,
Yeah.
that's not realistic.
Yep.
And so building up to that 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4 to 5-on-5, where, you get forcing back closeouts and you're having to read those guys and attack on, which foot was up and you're attacking opposite of that or whatever you suggest or prefer. So
Yeah.
That's kind of my thought process on it.
Yeah, I think we don't just want cone warriors. Somebody that can just, dominate a cone all day long and look really smooth. And I think you nailed it. In my opinion, you nailed it. Where I had one coach say that skill development, all practice is skill development, every part of it, offensively, defensively. But I like your progression with 1-on-0 to small-sided games, and then, Coach, what you talked about, the 3-on-3 with restrictions. I mean, whether you realize it or not, like there's some people that I feel like on the small-sided game side, Alex Sarama, Chris Oliver, both those guys with basketball immersion, I feel like they're on the forefront they're the leaders in that right now. And they would say that 3-on-3 game you talked about with having to catch it, having to get to the paint, that's it. Like, that's right on the money, because what you're doing, it's not just 3-on-3, roll it out, we're going to play. They're having to do things specifically that in games we want it to be instinctive. Well, it's not going to be instinctive unless they're being forced to do those actions again and again. And we can have them do it against 3-on-0. But like you said, you put a human being out in front of you. We've all seen those players that look great against no one. Put a human being, it's like, what happened to that guy?
Absolutely.
And so I think you're doing a great job with that.
Well, appreciate that.
Coaches, the Jamodi podcast is powered by Shoot 360. The future of basketball has arrived in Dallas-Fort Worth. Shoot 360 combines the latest sports technology with the fundamentals of basketball skill development. The result is a one-of-a-kind video game-like basketball program designed to improve your shooting, dribbling, and passing. Visit shoot360dfw.com to learn more and register for your free 1-hour workout evaluation. Shoot 360, the future of basketball is here. Seems like with your culture, that you, especially what we established at the beginning of our talk with you, making sure that the relationship piece is there. How intentional are you about meeting with your players?
So I went to this about, so I want to kind of, I'll just kind of go real brief about my background as a coach. But so this is my 16th year. 15 of those years, I've been a head coach for 15 out of those 16 years. And when I first started, obviously I was younger, and I didn't know what was going on. I really didn't. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know what was going on, and I didn't talk to my players. And there were times that I would get a parent call, and they would say, well, does so-and-so know that? And it would hit me, and I would go, I knew I was thinking those things, but I never related to that player, And about maybe 7, 8 years ago, I started doing these talks. And so the reason I picked this question is because before every season now, for about the last 6 or 7 years, I brought in every kid before the season, and we talked to every kid after the season, and it's one-on-one. So I do my best to make time, and they're 15-minute segments, but and hopefully we can get it done. But and it's those talks range. What I mean, we have stuff that we always tell them when we first shut the door, this is us, but I want them to understand they need to know what we see in them as a coaching staff. And we always tell them like there's got to be a connection there. There can't be that disconnection.
Yeah.
What you feel like you could possibly get done, and sometimes, and you know this too, but sometimes it's really good when we're both on that same level. But then there's some of those guys that they see themselves doing this, and we see them helping us this way, and there's that slight disconnect, and that's the conflict that usually happens, right?
Yeah.
And so we started doing that about 6 or 7 years ago. We're actually in that right now. So when you talk about like when do we talk to them, right now our preseason guys that we have, we have about 5 more guys left that we need to visit with. And like I said, it's all their strengths, their weaknesses, what team we possibly see them out right now, because I mean they need to know that too. Like and we can't guarantee anything, but and that doesn't mean that those things don't change, But that's just at the moment. This is what we see, and I think that just benefits us so much because it's probably happened about 10 times right now where I just straight up tell one of my guys like, man, you know what? Like, I didn't even know that about you.
Yeah.
Like, thank you, man. Like, I'm glad I know that now. Because we, let's even at the side school that I'm at, like, I mean, we see these guys and we have them for most of the time, but for a lot of the time, we're not around them. And that's the same thing with you. And I'm not saying that, but if we're at a smaller school and their parents and their family and with a lot of our guys, not that we don't know those things, it's just a little bit harder to get out of them. So I use that time for that. And when you talk about, those talks and things like that, I try to do everything in my power that if I see them outside of this, not that this is anything different that any coach would do, but I want to make it a point to go and visit them, or say hello to them or shake their hand or something like that to build that relationship. And I don't think that's anything different than what great coaches do or what what like somebody like yourself does. But I think it's important. I think it's important that those guys see you in a different deal. I have 2 sons that play flag football, and a lot of our kids referee their flag football games. So something as simple as that, me giving them a hard time on the Saturday morning.
Come on, ref.
They see us in a different light, and I just think it's important. So we have preseason talks, and then we have postseason talk. The postseason talks is, it might be for the guy that he didn't get a whole lot of time. This is what we feel like you got to work on, to in order for you to get time, or this is the team. Like we're going to be expecting this from you next year because your role is going to change, and so I think that's important. Preseason talks, and then postseason talks, and then just the occasional, visits. Obviously in the locker room and after practice. If you see somebody that's having a bad day, calling them over and just chit-chatting with them and talking to them. So I think that's important.
See, Coach, I think a lot of coaches do that. What you just said, those are the random, we have our eyes open, we're looking, random talks where the timing worked out. You happen to see them at the right time. You take advantage of that. And that's great. I think coaches that care do that. But what's impressive with you, and you said you think a lot of coaches do that. I think a lot of coaches want to do that, but the follow through is different. It's difficult to intentionally schedule those meetings to where because if you only do it the other way, I'm going to take every opportunity I can to build into my players when it happens. Well, you're basing your game on hope at that point. which we don't want our players to do that. So as coaches, we can't do that. By scheduling them, man, you are making sure that it happens. And I think that's special.
Well, I appreciate that. And we give them a little, I think it's like 4 or 5 questions, and it's called a player evaluation. And they just answer those. And then that's kind of what we discussed too. So I forgot to kind of state that, but we kind of start off the meeting discussing that, like, they feel like these 3 things are their strengths, and then they feel like they can work on these 3 things. And so we just kind of try to come together to let them understand, like, this is, as a coaching staff, this is just what we feel. And I tell you, it's amazing how those kids react after they hear some of those things.
Yeah.
And not all of it is good, because sometimes they hear those things and, well, I mean, coach doesn't know what he's talking about. I feel like this. I mean, let's face it, that happens.
Yeah.
But more times than none, it's really beneficial.
Yeah.
Really beneficial for us. So
you know what you're doing too is you're depositing. You're depositing into their bank account. I think so often as coaches, with whether it's our players or their parents, we're just constantly withdrawing. We're pulling out, and then all of a sudden we get surprised when our players are worn out, are tired of us, or our families are. Well, we have to intentionally deposit. That's with positives every single day. A great, I think Paul Mills at Oral Roberts said, like, his goal is to say every kid's name at least once, every player's name at least once throughout a practice. Because how many times, if we're honest, can we go through a team practice, and really focus on the first 6 or 7 the most, and maybe not even say little Timmy's name once?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. That's a great point, though. I like that too.
I think social media obviously is here to stay. It's free. It's a way for us to be able to celebrate our players, show off what we're doing with our program, connect maybe. What are some ways that you use social media to enhance your program?
So, like I said earlier, with the way things have changed and have evolved, it's almost required that you do it, because that's just what our kids like. Whether we like it or not, that's what our kids enjoy. Um, I'd like to learn a little bit more about this, and I'm not saying that I don't do this and I allow them to just have their cell phones just whenever they want. But I know that some coaches, they take their cell phones up and on trips, or staying overnight at hotels, and so, I mean, I've heard those stories, and I think it's great. But at the same time, like, that's kind of, I mean, that's just, to me, that's just a teenage boys thing. Like, that's their thing. And I think as a coach, you've got to make that connection. So,
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff that we send in our group message is stuff from Twitter. So I'm a really big fan of obviously Twitter, and my own social media is Facebook personally, that I use. But that's what I use the most for our team aspect. Like you said, it's obviously free, and I think it's safe enough for us to use. And I think there's just some really good content on there. And I'm always a huge fan of getting on there and reading stuff from Twitter posts or on social media. So when you say, like, how do I enhance it, or what do I do? I try to. I think what was said best in one of our coaches meetings before I started the school year was sharing your story.
Yeah.
And so that's just a great way for us to share our story as a program, because a lot of people aren't involved, are not on the inside. And so obviously, and another thing too is, I mean, let's face it, when you're doing those things, sharing social media stuff, it's all positive, right? And so,
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you can't go wrong. Like, they're going to be good posts, because you're sharing positive things, that are happening with your team
Yeah.
or your program
Really couldn't
or your
stand my
kid.
players' day of practice. Couldn't stand their effort. Really wish we could get a whole new
So
team in here.
so didn't touch
That's
the
not
line,
happening.
I mean, so that's the plus about it, and
Yeah.
so I mean, you're going to share things, and it's all going to be positive. And so, like I said, it's just a great way to connect with your guys, and of course, they I mean, let's face it, you go into the locker room, that's what those guys are on.
Yeah.
You know, when you turn on the TV in their locker room, that's what it's on. So you gotta embrace that. You gotta, you just gotta. It's just something that you have to deal with and evolve with it, and change with it. So
And I'll
transform.
add one thing to that is that I think now not only are our players on, but the age of our players now, when they were born, like their parents, a lot of them have been around. Like I'm 40, I have a 16-year-old. I remember when Facebook came to Baylor's campus. The very first time I walked in the Student Life Center, and they called me over, and they're huddled around the community computers that used to be, in the middle of a student life. So they hey, set up your profile. Like on what? They're like, yeah, this thing called the Facebook. So my point is that I don't even think is as much. It is for our players, no doubt. I think the parents now, and for as long as we're doing this thing, they are going to be social media savvy, where it's important for them to see it too. I've had parents from other schools that maybe I randomly see make a comment about they love what we do on social media. And then, every so often, I don't like when parents talk about other coaches in a negative way. It always makes me think, all right, be careful with this person, because if they're willing to say it about that guy, then they're going to say it about me at some point. But yeah, I think it's important that we make that. They say, yeah, our program really didn't do anything for us on social media. I think they're watching that now. And my another point is I was able to have a talk with the head men's wheelchair basketball coach at the University of Illinois, Coach Bushi. And he had a great point that he said, just because we don't like something doesn't mean that it's bad. And that's something to remember. Like with all this social media stuff, TikTok, this Be Real app now that I just learned about. Here's the thing, man. And he made this comment too. Yeah, he made this comment too. He said, if you and I are just learning about it, it's been out for a long time and they're already doing it. And so I asked myself, I was like, what did you or a couple players, about this Be Real? I was like, yeah, for 2 years. I was like, oh man. So but that's the whole point to what you said is it doesn't matter how you and I feel about it, man. We better get with it. We better learn to understand it and figure out a way to use it to celebrate our players and enhance our program, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And like I said, when you talk about enhancing your program, it tells your story. It tells your program story, and like I said, it's all positive. I mean, that's what, that's the best part about it.
Yeah. We have an opportunity to control the narrative a little bit,
Sure.
because you and I know when at practice, the amazing things that happen there. But a lot of our parents don't come to practice. And a lot of our players don't go home raving about, this amazing culture moment that we had today. And so it's a way for us to show our vulnerability, let them in a little bit, to see what the amazing things that are happening there.
The Jamodi podcast is powered by Sideline Interactive. Sideline Interactive is the leading manufacturer for high-quality, innovative scoring tables and LED video display boards that help coaches and schools bring more excitement to fans, create huge fundraising opportunities, and make their jobs easier. Visit sidelineinteractive.com to check out their amazing products.
Coach, we'll go to the speed round, and this is going to be really fun because as the president of TABC, I mean, there are so many coaches that know you and have talked hoops with you, been in rooms with you before, but after the speed round, we're really going to know who you are.
Oh, goodness.
Here we go. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Cookies and cream.
Okay. How many hours of sleep do you get?
About 5.
Is that good for you, or you need more?
I would like more, but I get about 5.
There you go. Best basketball movie of all time.
Ooh, I like Blue Chips.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I
And I
like Blue Chips.
respect that because Hoosiers is the default. I feel like every coach says that, but
Yeah,
Blue Chips
I
above
love
the
Blue Chips.
rim, above the rim was one of my favorites
Above the
too.
rim, Blue Chips. Yeah, those are close ones. Yeah,
That's good. For high school, shot clock or no shot clock?
I say bring it on.
Yeah. Coach
Uh,
Brackle is fighting hard for it to happen.
I say bring it on. That's just my personal opinion. And that talks about just evolving right
Yep.
with the game. So you know,
I
so
was
bring it on.
speaking to a coach that was a high school coach and a college coach in Canada for a long time. He's working with Coach Nickel. He's working with PGC now. And he made a comment about, and he did it respectfully, that possibly a reason why Canadian basketball is moving ahead quickly. I mean, we have a lot of NBA stars that are Canadians. The Canadian teams do really well, and he said part of that is from the younger ages, they are growing up playing with a shot clock. So
Oh,
they're
wow.
having to learn how to, in junior high and high school, how to play in that amount of time, create, make plays. He just says it's overall making players better. And I thought that was an interesting point.
Yeah, that is very interesting.
Texting or talking?
Texting.
Favorite holiday?
It's Christmas.
Yeah. A lot of coaches say 4th of July because we don't really get the same holiday feel as others because, man, we either got a game or practice the next day. So
I like Christmas because it's kind of
those 5 days, yeah, or however many days you give them. Yeah.
It's kind of one of those. So.
Yeah. In basketball, who is the GOAT?
MJ.
Nice. Nice. Okay. Okay, here's one. You're up 3 with 7 seconds left. They have to go the length of the floor. Do you foul or do you play it out?
I've always been a big fan of playing it out. I just have. I just been a big fan of playing it out. It's a great question, though.
Yeah, I think there's some more information needed for me. How do I feel getting are we limping to that point? Are we up 3 and we've just been all the momentum is theirs to where if it was to go into overtime, man, we need to get out of this thing now. Maybe that comes into it. How many team fouls do we have? If we're only at 4 or 5, yeah, I'm going to foul a few times probably to get that time down. But then I heard Coach K say, I think one time he said, I don't want to intentionally put a team ever in a position to score, meaning the foul line. If Coach K says something, I don't know, it's kind of gold for me.
Yeah. Hey, I'll take it.
If you could travel back in time, what period would you visit?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I would probably say the 60s, around the 60s era.
Nice.
So civil rights movement, I think would be interesting.
I like that.
Yes, sir.
2 more. How many cups of coffee do you drink per day?
Goodness, about 7.
That's it. Let's go. Finally,
7.
Man. His coach is saying 0. I'm like, what?
If I go a day without coffee, somebody's in trouble.
How do you drink it?
Sir?
How do you drink it?
I've I don't really have a preference. I can drink it straight. I can drink it with cream. I don't know.
Anyway, I like that.
Coffee. Yes, sir.
Last one. Godfather, Star Wars, or neither?
I'd probably say Godfather over Star Wars.
Yeah.
But it would probably, I'd say Godfather over Star Wars.
Okay. Well, but or neither. What's your go-to genre?
I love action. I love action movies. My wife is not a big movie person, so it's usually me and my oldest son. But I love, and I say I love action, but these documentaries on Netflix
Man,
are
have you
tough to
watched
beat.
Redeem Team yet?
I watched it yesterday. I just watched it yesterday. So
I
I
like
mean,
I like Kobe. I've
love them.
never been like a huge fan, but watching a little
Absolutely.
bit more about him there, that helped a ton.
I just sent this text message out too to a couple of my buddies about it, and I was telling my wife this. I think the most interesting thing about that show to me is I just found it amazing how these producers they have all that footage and they put this great show in front of us that is behind the scenes look. Like I think it's amazing
Yeah.
like how they do that 15 years later. Like it's
Creative people always impress me because I'm not creative.
it's amazing. It's amazing. So and then you have the statements and the comments by or the interviews with Kobe, and it's like
Powerful.
he's still here,
Yeah.
and it's amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing. So yeah. So I mean, when you talk about I'm action, I am actions, but I love the documentaries on Netflix, and so we don't get to watch a whole lot of movies, but if I got to pick, I think that'd be my choice.
Coach, this was awesome, man. Like I love getting to talk hoops with you and learn more about you. Like I said, I've literally sat in rooms with you, or if I'm at TBC, I've seen you at booths, and
Yeah,
we've
yeah.
always said hello. But to get a more time with you like this has just been really cool for me.
Well, I appreciate it, and like I said, I've we've kind of all just sat back and watched each other's teams and programs, and I was fortunate to play y'all, at Glen Rose and or play your teams, and
Coach,
so
that was a
yeah,
nightmare for
uh,
us. The way you guys jumped on us so early, um, I just remember thinking like guys will ask me from time to time with how we want to play offense and things. Well, what if they're bigger, faster, stronger than you at every spot? And I just look at them, I say, we might lose. Like it's just possible. That's how I felt playing you guys, is they are bigger, faster, and stronger at all 5 spots.
uh, like I said, I have a huge respect for you, and obviously reading some of this stuff, I'm going to actually go back and check a couple out myself
Nice.
to kind of familiarize myself with your podcast, and like I said, it's a true honor, true blessing to even be asked and acknowledged to get on here and speak. And if for anyone that's listening, I'll provide my information, and I think as a coach, I think that's our due diligence to give back,
Hmm.
and so I'm the first one to say that I had some guys before me that are huge mentors to me, and when I gave my background as far as being a head coach for 15 years and an assistant for one, I really had to learn a lot of stuff on the fly,
Yeah.
and I had to mess up a lot of stuff too to make things right. And so like I said, I truly humbled and honored to have this opportunity to visit, and hopefully just anybody that is listening can just pull one thing, that us as coaches, that's what we kind of do too,
Yep.
is you try to reach one kid, and we feel like we've done our job or we've accomplished our job. So but like I said, truly an honor, and thank you. So
2 things. First, if
just
you want to talk about TABC, because I think a lot of guys that do listen are Texas coaches. So your thoughts on why TABC is important for high school coaches to be a part of.
Well, so we've actually included a few things, like some virtual mini clinics, which is huge. And it's a great resource to have. Uh, I get everyone that's on my staff. I get them a TABC membership. We do have a newsletter. There's multiple awards that come with it. That you can recognize your team. And when you think about the motto of it, being the voice of basketball in the state of Texas. We're obviously still trying to improve that. Nothing that I'm going to do this year is going to just accomplish that in itself. But there's strength in numbers,
Yep.
And so, there's so many great ideas that can be expressed. We've had some really good input with our board meetings. It's a great networking tool if you're a part of it, and then you kind of move yourself up the ladder and become a board member
Yeah.
or volunteer to be regional coordinator. Select the all-state teams or the all-region teams. It's a great, great, great networking, capability. So we also have our basketball camp in the summer that for me personally has done so much to grow me as a person and as a coach. I will continue to stress that if you're in the area and you have kids that are interested in doing a basketball camp, send them, please. I'm a big advocate of that as well. And to be honest with you, that's really how I got my start with the organization. So, but like I said, we just want to just grow, this game that we love so much and that we have passion for. And we need people like you involved, and that's just a way for us to grow and make things better. So.
Yeah, I will just say, I mean, being part of TABC ever since, really since I started coaching at Naaman Forest with Jeff Clarkson, then went to McKinney High School with Wes Watson. It's just something I wanted to be a part of. When I heard that there's this organization that thousands of coaches are a part of, I thought, well, I got to be a part of that. Because to me, it's what we do with our players is important, and getting invited to their weddings over the years, that's big time. But these friendships and relationships with coaches, just full transparency, my father-in-law passed away recently, and he was a 30-plus year high school football coach. And at the memorial, we had the room. I mean, it gave me, obviously emotional in the moment, but it gave me chills. The amount of coaches and players that came, that guy influenced, and that not everybody was in that room, so there's probably thousands more. But I think a part of this is it's not, it's definitely not about wins and losses. It's about the relationships that we are able to have with our players, our families, but then with each other as coaches, because what you and I get to do and go through here is special, but only you and I really understand. And what an honor to get to be a part of an organization where that's what we get to do. So TABC, not a sponsor of the podcast, but I love it, and coaches need to be a part of it for sure.
Well, thank you. Appreciate
and then you mentioned those 5 questions, Coach. If anybody, the evaluation questions you give your players, if anybody wants to get that from you, what's a good way?
CJ.Villegas, VILLEGAS @SAISD.org.
And what I'll do is I'll put that in the show notes. I'll put your and Coach, actually, if you don't mind, if you'll email me the Google Drive link, I can actually put that in the show notes too, and that'll be in there, because I think that's, this time of year, but then any time of year, we are constantly looking for better ways to get in touch with our players. And the way that you articulated that, I thought was awesome. And I could feel it, how much it means to you. But like I said, man, you just gave me an hour, 15 minutes of your time, and I'm honored for that. Thank you so much, Coach.
Thank you again. So like I said, it's an honor to do this, and man, I appreciate it. So thank you again, Coach.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the Jamodi Podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.